You know what's wild? Everyone's talking about the Galaxy S26 getting more expensive. Samsung execs are out here basically begging you to understand why they might raise prices. But here's what literally no tech channel is telling you. This isn't actually about Samsung at all. What we are witnessing right now is the first time in smartphone history where your phone's price is being held hostage by ChatGapt. And I'm dead serious. Let me explain what's really happening here, because once you understand this, the Galaxy S26 situation makes perfect, terrifying sense. So here is the narrative you have been hearing. Samsung Galaxy S26 might cost 60 more because of memory shortages. Cool, groundbreaking journalism, everyone. But let me paint you the actual picture of what's happening behind the scenes, because this rabbit hole goes way deeper than anyone's reporting. Right now, as I'm recording this, there's a bidding war happening in semiconductor factories that would make Wall Street traders blush. On one side, you've got Samsung's mobile division trying to buy memory chips for your next phone. On the other side, OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, and every other AI company with infinite VC money literally outbidding Samsung 7-1 for the same chips. Here's the crazy part. Samsung's semiconductor division, the people who actually make the chips, tried to cut their mobile division a deal. Like, imagine if your left hand tried to sell something to your right hand at a discount. That negotiation fell apart. Think about that. Samsung couldn't even make a deal with itself. That's how insane the memory market is right now. The numbers are absolutely mind-blowing. DRAM prices have gone up 70% since early 2025. NAND flash storage up 100%, literally doubled. General purpose DRAM went from $1.35 to $9.3 per chip. That's a 690% increase, and here is the kicker. Analysts are saying this could last until 2028. We are not talking about a little blip here. They're calling this RAMageddon, which sounds dramatic, but it's actually worse than that name suggests. Because here's what I haven't seen anyone explain properly. AI data centers aren't just buying a lot of RAM. They're buying a different type of RAM called HBM, high bandwidth memory, and each HBM chip uses 3 times the silicon wafer space of normal phone RAM. So when OpenAI reserved half of SK Hynix's wafer production for their Stargate data center project, they didn't just buy half the memory, they basically killed the entire consumer electronics supply chain. That's not hyperbole, that's literally what happened. Now here's where this gets absolutely bonkers, and I haven't seen a single tech channel talk about this irony. Samsung is using the money from selling overpriced RAM to AI companies to subsidize your phone price. Let me break that down because it sounds insane. AI companies buy RAM from Samsung Semiconductor for massive profits. Samsung takes those profits and uses them to absorb losses on Galaxy S26 phones. Your Galaxy S26 stays at $799 in the US, allegedly, instead of jumping to $859. So essentially, OpenAI is accidentally paying for part of your phone. How's that for a plot twist? But here's the dark side, and this is something I'm genuinely annoyed about because no one is covering this angle properly. US buyers might keep $799 pricing because Samsung eats the cost. South Korean buyers are definitely getting hit with a $60 increase. International buyers are probably also getting price hikes. Samsung is literally choosing to protect American customers and sacrifice everyone else. Why? Because if Apple keeps iPhone 17 prices flat in the US, Samsung has to match that or lose market share. But if you're buying in Europe, Asia, or anywhere else, Samsung's like, yeah, you're paying the real cost. Sorry, that's some messed up global economics right there. Remember those insane Black Friday deals where the Galaxy S25 Ultra 512GB dropped to $860? According to Samsung execs, those days might be over. Because when memory is expensive, they can't afford to give away free storage upgrades, slash prices by $400 to $500, or do aggressive trade-in promotions. Right now, literally right now in January 2026, the S25 Ultra is $1,049 on Amazon. That's $250 off. If you're watching this video, that might be the last time you see that kind of discount for years. I'm not being dramatic, I'm being realistic based on what Samsung executives are saying publicly. Okay, so prices are going up, but at least the S26 is a massive upgrade, right? Right? Let me hit you with the leaked spec comparison that nobody wants to talk about honestly. What's actually changing on the Galaxy S26 versus the S25? The processor is the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, which is faster, but we'll get to that. Battery goes from 4000 mAh to 4300 mAh, so 300 mAh more. Base storage finally goes from 128GB to 256GB, which should have been standard years ago. The ultra-wide camera might get upgraded to 50MP. That's it, that's the list. Now here's what's staying exactly the same. Main camera, 50MP, same sensor they've been using for over 3 years. Telephoto 10MP 3x zoom, no change. Front camera 12MP, no change. Charging speed 45W wired, still painfully slow compared to competitors. Wireless charging 15W, pathetically slow. Display same resolution, same brightness, the Galaxy S26 Plus specifically. Battery is 4900 mAh. Same as the S25 Plus. Charging is 45W, same as the S25 Plus. Literally nothing changed except the processor. So let me get this straight. You might pay more money for a slightly better chip, a tiny battery bump on the regular model, and storage that should have been standard 3 years ago. Meanwhile, Chinese brands like OnePlus are shipping phones with 7000 mAh plus silicon carbon batteries, 100W plus charging speeds, and actually innovative camera systems. The Galaxy S26 Ultra is getting some upgrades, 60W charging versus 45W, which means Samsung is finally catching up to what Chinese phones had in 2020, possible key to magnetic charging, which is nice but overdue. Maybe a variable aperture camera, though leakers are skeptical, rounded corners instead of sharp ones, because apparently sharp corners were a huge problem that needed solving. But even Samsung leakers are saying the camera improvements are incremental and some features like the S Pen's pressure sensitivity might actually get removed to make the phone thinner. So you're potentially losing features while paying more. That's not an upgrade, that's a downgrade with better marketing. Here's what's fascinating from a business perspective, and this is where tech reviewers are completely missing the story. Samsung is playing a game of chicken with the entire industry. Think about their position. They make the memory that's in short supply. They sell that memory at record profits to AI companies. They need that same memory for their phones. They have to compete with Apple, who has long-term supply contracts locked in. So Samsung is making a calculated bet. Take a 10% to 15% profit margin hit on phones, make it up in memory sales, and hope AI demand crashes before 2027. It's a risky strategy that could backfire spectacularly. Here's why the Apple factor matters so much. Apple locked in their memory contracts before prices exploded, so they can keep prices stable. But those contracts expire in 2026, according to analyst reports, which means the iPhone 18 in late 2026 might also see price increases. So Samsung is essentially timing this bet against when Apple has to raise prices too, if Apple raises prices first. Samsung looks like the good guy. If Samsung raises prices and Apple doesn't, they lose market share. It's a high-stakes poker game being played with your wallet. Samsung is trying to use their own Exynos 2600 chip in some models to save money on Qualcomm's expensive Snapdragon chips. But here's the problem. US buyers will still get Snapdragon because Exynos historically sucks in the US market. So if you're an American buyer, you are getting the more expensive chip at the same price, while international buyers pay more for the cheaper chip. That's actually kind of insulting when you think about it. You're subsidizing the development of a chip you'll never use. Alright, let's get practical. If you're watching this video trying to decide what to do, here's my brutally honest take. If you're in the US and need a phone now, the Galaxy S25 series is at all-time low prices. I'm seeing the S25 for $649 down from $799. The S25 Plus for $899 down from $999. If you're planning to wait for the S26, understand what you're betting on. You're betting that Samsung keeps us prices at $799, $999, and $1,299, which isn't guaranteed. You're betting that the upgrades are worth it, which they probably aren't based on leaked specs. You're betting that you'll even get good launch deals, which is unlikely given memory costs. If you're international, I'm sorry, but you're probably going to pay more for less. That's the reality. Consider buying a discounted S25 now, waiting to see if S26 prices are tolerable, or looking at competitors like OnePlus, Xiaomi, or Google Pixel. Here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to say out loud. We're entering an era where flagships might just cost more, period. The days of aggressive discounts and free upgrades might be over until memory production catches up, which analysts say won't happen until 2027 or 2028. So if you're waiting for prices to go back to normal, you might be waiting 3 years. That's a long time to use a cracked phone screen. My prediction for what Samsung will actually do. They'll keep us base prices the same at $799, $999, and $1,299 to stay competitive with Apple. They'll kill the double storage pre-order deal that people loved. They'll offer weaker trade-in values than previous years. They'll raise prices in other markets by 50 to 100, and they'll market the S26 as AI-powered to justify minimal upgrades. It's classic corporate strategy, maintain the illusion of value while quietly cutting costs everywhere else. Here's what really bothers me about this whole situation, and it's something I think deserves way more attention. We're watching AI companies literally make consumer electronics more expensive for everyone. Think about the chain of events. Tech companies decide AI is the future. They build massive data centers. Data centers consume all available memory chips. Memory prices skyrocket. Your phone costs more. You didn't ask for this. You probably don't even use ChatGPT that much, but you're paying for it anyway through higher device prices. And here's the kicker that makes me genuinely angry: the AI features Samsung is adding to justify the S26's price. Most of them require internet connection and cloud processing anyway, so you are paying more for a device with memory shortage-driven price increases so you can use AI features that don't even run on your device. They run on the same data centers that caused the memory shortage in the first place. It's circular insanity. Consumer Reports warned about something terrifying that I think people need to understand. Manufacturers might keep prices the same but downgrade components, which is called shrinkflation. Imagine paying $799 for a Galaxy S26 that has 8 GB RAM instead of 12 GB, a dimmer screen, cheaper camera modules, and slower storage. That's not a conspiracy theory, that's a real strategy manufacturers are considering, according to TrendForce analysts. They are literally planning to give you less and charge you the same while hoping you don't notice. And honestly, most people won't notice until it's too late. Look, here's the bottom line. The Galaxy S26 price situation isn't just about Samsung being greedy or memory being expensive. It is about a fundamental shift in the tech industry where AI infrastructure is now competing with consumer products for the same resources, and consumers are losing that battle badly. We're not even at the negotiating table. We're just collateral damage in a war between AI companies and traditional electronics manufacturers. My advice breaks down into 4 scenarios. If you need a phone now, buy a discounted S25. The deals won't last, and you're getting 95% of what the S26 will offer at a significantly lower price. If you can wait until March after the S26 launches. See real-world pricing and reviews. Then decide between a cheaper S25 or the new S26. Don't pre-order based on hype. If you're budget conscious, understand that mid-range phones are about to get hit the hardest by price increases. Flagship prices might stay stable-ish, but budget phones could see 30% price hikes according to analyst projections. If you're international, brace yourself for price increases. And seriously consider alternative brands that aren't playing these pricing games. The real question we should all be asking is, at what point do we say enough is enough? When phones hit $2,000? When mid-rangers cost $800? When budget phones cost what flagships used to cost? The tech industry is betting you'll just accept it. They're betting that you'll complain online, but still buy the phone when it launches, and maybe you will. I'm not here to judge, but at least now you know why it's happening, and it's not the reason Samsung's PR team is telling you. Samsung executives are out here saying price increases are inevitable while simultaneously making record profits on memory sales to AI companies. They're crying poverty while swimming in money from a different division. Let that sink in. They could absorb these costs. They choose not to in most markets because Wall Street expects growth, and growth means higher prices or higher volumes. And volumes are harder to achieve than just raising prices. If this video helped you understand what is really going on behind the marketing speak and the tech journalism surface level coverage, drop a like. If you think I'm wrong about any of this, roast me in the comments. I actually read them, and I've been wrong before. And if you're buying a phone in the next few months, good luck. You're gonna need it. The smartphone market is entering its most uncertain period in over a decade, and nobody really knows how this plays out. I'll see you in the next one.